Good afternoon and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello to our friends from Japan, from Germany, from Sweden, from Australia, from way out in the middle of the eastern parts of Australia. Or is it the western part? The western parts of Australia, I guess, and everywhere else in the States. And you've got Texas there, but I think you're in Oregon today, aren't you, Steve? Yeah,
Yep.
You're in Oregon. Welcome. One of the things that I was asked to actually talk about was do a little bit more on programming, but the use of singing calls. And it came up in a discussion where a caller said, well, I've done my program and I've done all these singing calls and I thought it was good because it was there and it was all singing calls. So they should have been able to do it, but it didn't work. And I looked at the singing calls and it's because there was no real rhyme or reason in the singing calls to tie the theme together, other than the theme of the music rather than the theme of the choreography. And there was no lead in to give the dancer success with the choreography. So this is one of the things, and I just realized I'm not sharing my screen, so I will share my screen. This is one of the things that I wanted to talk about today. And I fully and openly admit that a lot of this material I actually stole from borrowed, let's say, I've incorporated into my calling repertoire. The idea of this from a fellow named Sean Werkel, who is in Europe. And he's written a number of different things. His address and email to his notes pages are going to be in the notes to hand out. But he's written a lot of material. And a lot of this material comes from a collation of some of the thoughts that he's put down in little short articles. But he's quite right. And I've just expanded it out a little bit more. So what you have to look at is if modern square dance callers want to expand their program with an effective way of creating an original and a very super dynamic night of square dancing with good flow, a very simple way of achieving success is to use more original singing call figures. And when I say original, it doesn't mean you have to write them, but you have to find the original ones that go with the material that you want to present for what you want to achieve. Now, this can make a basis for delivering innovative and different choreography, and it applies to every program. Doesn't matter what level you're calling or what program you're calling, although it is true that few callers do singing calls at the challenge level. Some do, some don't. Nevertheless, the use of singing call figures as the approach allows the caller to program a progressive development in the structure, and there's key, in the structure that builds upon itself, and it has a much better chance of presenting more usable choreography with variety that is both progressive and successful for the dancers on their respective program lists, much better than what we're talking and what we're calling now. There is a caution with that, and I will get to that because it's not all about the choreography. This kind of approach, what it does, it gives a springboard for not for fast-paced, but for paced development, growth, reinforcement of ideas, and building on a single concept, while at the same time, what it does is maximizes the existing knowledge for the dancers and the dancers' future successes. And the reason is simple. All the dancers will have the same springboard from which to take the step, or the same step for which to take the next step. They've got all the same platform to stand on. Now, preparing your own structured and focused singing call material that is progressive, not only with each individual tip, which we've talked about, but you can also do that with an evening theme. And that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight. It allows you to structure both the music and the choreography of the singing calls for maximum emotional escalation planning. And that's a big thing, escalation planning. And it allows the maximum progressive success planning for an evening. This kind of approach allows you to build the supporting material to your pattern, all your little modules that are going to support your pattern to achieve what it is you want to achieve. And it's going to allow you to complement the basic choreography of each singing call that goes with the pattern that you presented. It can also be used as a planned progressive or a passive springboard, which is an absolute successful way of providing positive programming variety. And this is applicable at both the class level and at the club or at the festival planning level, if you're able to do that. So the largest obstacle for callers to overcome has always been simply to provide interest that the square dancers can comfortably handle. Now, interest and variety does not mean difficulty. And that's what we've got to get our heads around. Just because it says interest doesn't mean it's difficult. It is sometimes difficult for callers to prepare danceable material for the dancer's capability rather than presenting material from the caller's idea of what is creative variety. It's necessary to always consider the factors of time and capability for your material and recognize what is called the escalation plateau. In other words, the point where you stop presenting new stuff and just let the dancers enjoy the dance. While individual dancers may vary, collectively, dancers have a mass plateau. It doesn't matter what the crowd is, where they try to reach that plateau well before the end of the evening or well before the end of the tip so that they can rest somewhere near the top and enjoy the view. That way they get to dance what they know and actually enjoy it. And that is a lesson that goes through the structure of everything that we do that we seem to have lost. It's imperative that you structure material to reach this plateau about half to 3/4 maximum throughout the evening. I like to get there a little early. I like to get to that plateau around the 4th tip, and then the rest of the evening I play. Okay, the idea is to play with what they already know that is new. So if you introduce something new, you want to introduce it fairly early, and then you want to let them play with it during the evening, but you want to get them playing with it successfully. You keep them interested, but in doing so, you let them feel the flush and the rush of success while they're resting right up here in this escalation plateau. The success, they're not going to climb any higher, but they're going to use what they know to wander around and enjoy the view from all the points at the top of that hilltop that they got to. The reality is, if you've got a 2-hour dance, you're only going to have a maximum 1.5 hours to reach that goal. Ideally, you should have reached that plateau by the midpoint. If you've got a 2-hour split dance, then you may only have 45 minutes to reach that escalation plateau. Don't push. Allow the dancers to reach the top and then feel that flush of success. The way of achieving this is by preparing your plateau first. You want to figure out where you want to get those dancers to be and where you want to stop. And if you plan that first, then you can build progressive steps for success from the start of the evening, present your nicely prepared and arranged square dance choreography in modules, which magically seem to be supported, rewarded, and reinforced by your singing calls. To the dancers, it's going to seem like they worked really, really hard to learn a concept where they successfully collated all the abstracts of what the caller's throwing them in a whole, and they're gaining the reward of achieving that success. I did it. Yeah, great. They're not going to know it was you that made that happen by building things in a reverse order. You took in where you want to go, and then you built all the steps to get them there. And each step feels like something new, but it's a path that you've designed for them. Okay. They're definitely, however, going to appreciate and love the success of being able to take whatever you throw at them. And that's what it's going to feel. What it does, it builds the dancer's confidence, and it also builds their respect in you as a caller to be able to present innovative and flowing material that to the dancers feels new, different, varied, seemingly progressive, and more challenging, but to them still being able to dance it. And being able, more importantly, to dance to you as a caller. And that's kind of what Daryl and I were talking about earlier. It doesn't have to be difficult, but gives them that feeling of, wow, that was challenging. Wow, you threw a lot of stuff on it, but it was really easy to dance. So I loved it. Okay? We've all heard of those dancers that say, I like that person because it doesn't matter what he or she throws at me. He gets us through it. Or I don't like this caller because he's too hard and technical. That is a dancer's viewpoint. But when, as a caller, you sit back and compare the material of this was easy, this was hard from the dancer's perspective, the actual choreography could be exact same choreography or even the opposite as far as difficulty goes. You know, it could be the successful caller was presenting really difficult stuff and the difficult technical caller was presenting fairly easy stuff, but how they were doing it was causing the problems. This is why when preparing your tips or programming your evenings, what you want to do is make sure you prepare the dancers to dive into what you want to achieve. Make sure it's safe to dive, okay? You don't want to get into really deep creative ideas in your pattern without having a goal in mind. And each step on that escalation plateau that we have over here should be structured with success a small climb, that's in your patter, and then a success resting plateau, that's the singing call that builds upon itself. So they climb up that little stair, get the new idea, and then they get to use it and rest. Just take it back a slight tone, and they use it in the singing call, and that sets them up for the next set of stairs. The rest plateaus, each one of those should also successfully build and lead you into the next singing call if you're doing it correctly. It's a common failing that many callers, especially newer callers, are thinking like callers in their choreography and not like dancers. Dancers want to feel challenged, but they don't really want to be challenged. They want variety, they want innovation, but they don't really want the challenge. They want the impression of the challenge. They want to think, but they want to be successful. And when they are, they're happy. The material they present, a lot of new callers present, is often varied, it's solid, it's flowing, and it's creative. But there's no journey to ease the dancers into getting there. And from a dancer's perspective, a good and interesting less is always better than it's too much to grasp more material. Okay, good and interesting less is always better than that difficult more. This is where the difference between sitting down to a nice meal and savoring every bite and enjoying the experience with the reward of dessert and putting it all in it, that's great. That's what you want your square dance to be. Or you can do what a lot of callers do, is they take this wonderful prepared meal and they stick it all in a blender, churn it up, and you're basically drinking a meat and ice cream smoothie. You got the same nutritional value, the same stuff goes in, but one is definitely more enjoyable than the other. Now, here's something. Fresh ideas are not new. One of the things that's harmed the enjoyment of square dancing immensely, in my opinion, is the lack of providing good, fresh ideas to the dancers. And that's providing ideas in dance combinations of calls that are paced and a complement to a program that the dancers can actually dance to. For too long, what has been going on is this idea has been taken to mean push the boundaries. Okay, that's the wrong interpretation. Progressive, doable, building block choreography does not mean technical DBD nonsense. Okay, what it is a full and varied good use of basic material in a way that is full, varied, complementary, dance from different places on the floor with different outlooks on the floor and the walls and different people working with you. Okay, it uses the material that you have wisely and progressively to build with success, rather than to trick the dancers with a technicality of a definition. Okay, too often what happens is when these technical DBD callers present an idea in patter, they have absolutely no complementary plateau with the singing call. So they'll provide this wonderful idea in patter and they struggle and they push the dance, they got through it, and then they do something that doesn't even use the movement in the singing call. They just, oh, okay, now we're going to do a singing call to relax. Well, a singing call, no matter how good it is, if it doesn't have that success reward, it's just basically a piece of music that they're going to trudge along, especially after doing a hard patter. Doing that technical DBD trickery, as I call it, with no preparation for the dancers to succeed is almost as bad as when a caller will pull out exactly the same stuff with the same approaches to every dance everywhere, nationally, internationally, and locally. I heard the expression that I no longer go to his dances because I dance with him in Texas, but he's going to call the same dance in Montana. He's going to call the same dance here. He's going to call the same dance as club. If you've been to one of his dances, you've been to them all. And there are a few callers like that. That works in some places where that person's never been. But if that caller comes back year after year after year after year and calls exactly the same material, you don't go after a while. Okay, there's numerous instances of dancers going to dances where over 3 or 4 hours or even a couple of days, they've only danced 4, maybe 5 singing call figures. Lots of different music, but 4 or 5 singing call figures the whole weekend or the whole workshop. And this is even when there's a scheduled workshop on specific movements, but it's still the same 4 singing calls, the same 4 singing call figures. Now, for me, from a purely subjective point of view, this is not a good thing. And the dancers will eventually, by the 3rd or 4th time doing the exact same singing call figure, get bored with the singing calls because they have no link to the pattern. And now the choreography that they worked hard to achieve becomes memorable, but for all the wrong reasons. It's well documented that dancers will very rarely remember choreography. What they do remember is how they feel succeeding at it. You know, if you work and you succeed and you get the reward, I feel good. That's great. But what we're doing in a lot of cases is we're making them remember it like, we're being disciplined in school and we have to write lines out. We remember the lines by rote. Nobody liked that kind of thing. It's a disciplinary approach and it's not liked, but it's remembered for all the wrong reasons. So for me, there's some problematic observations. And these are the key 4 things that I see that frustrate dancers. One, the caller may present a really, really good idea in the pattern, but then do a singing call that has no tie to the pattern that was presented to them. Number 2, you could do really intense, varied, and technical pattern with a really intense and varied singing call. It's equally difficult. But you keep presenting all these new ideas and the dancers can't adjust to it. They're not being rewarded. They're just being tested over and over and over through the pattern and the singing call. That's just equally as frustrating. 3, redundant routines with no particular focus or no idea between the pattern call. I'm going to present into my basic class a left spin chain through from an inverted Alamo wave and do this, and I'll get them through this and do it all technically. And then I do a singing call, which has a dip and dive in it. No tie between either of those, no focus on the routine, no tie between the choreography, no reward. And then the next tip, I'm going to do the same thing. And the next tip, I'm going to do the same thing. By the end of the 10th tip, yeah, you can do those movements, but it just doesn't feel right. And finally, there's the repeated use of a singing call figure more than once or twice. Okay. And what happens is a lot of the times you use the same singing call figure in the pattern 2 or 3 times, and then you use the same singing call in the singing call 4 times. There's no variety, there's no innovation, there's no use, there's no work on the theme. It doesn't mean you can't do it, but the use of short modules, equivalents, changing a perspective. If you want to do swing through, boys run Ferris wheel, great. Head square through. Well, you can do a slide through, pass through, bend the line, slide through, and then do your swing through, boys run Ferris wheel. All I've done is, oh, look, an invert and rotate module, but I'm doing it with different people. It feels different. You can add variety in simple ways to give that smiley face. And that's what you want. You want the dancers to feel, wow, I got through that. I feel good about myself. Okay. That's your job as a caller. You have a responsibility to the dancers. And as a caller, you've got the ability and the responsibility to present simple square dance calls or ideas that is interesting to dance and then builds upon itself and builds upon that unique idea with insightful choreographic variations of the original basic call as the dance progresses. So if you introduce something, you want to use it, you want to build on it, and you want to build on it so the dancers feel the flush of success and they feel the perception of challenge that they win. By maintaining a focused program on a theme idea, you're not only going to push the dancers' capabilities up, but you're also going to really enhance their perception of success in themselves and their enjoyment as the night unravels. Okay. And remember, it doesn't have to be difficult to be different and fresh. Okay. You can present both modern or traditional based choreographic themes. In Don Beck's session this morning, we were talking about some of the old routines that you can pull out for new dancers and new class. Well, you can do that at any class. There's a lot of really, really good material that's there. And you can build great progression in that kind of choreographic material with the hoedown pattern parts of the portions of each tip. From there, it's simple complementary variety using the same, but slightly scaled down application of that same material in your singing call. And it's the best way to make your singing call choreography more interesting and your overall dancing program more entertaining and the most entertaining that it can be. Remember, it's not the choreography that gets remembered. It's the feeling of success at achieving something that's a little different and getting a reward by being able to relax and just do it. I'll use an example, and Daryl, forgive me, I'm stealing this one from you. We hear this an awful lot in choreography. Heads lead to the right, do the right and left through. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. But I can't remember where I heard it, but it was your name was attached to it. Instead of heads lead to the right and do a right and left through. Okay, great. And then we went, it says head couples, or heads with a couple on the right, do the right and left through. Now, you just make that bend, or you can do heads lead to the right, right and left through, ladies chain. Or you can do heads with the couple on the right, ladies chain. Same forward to the right and left through. And then we can establish the lines however we want. Just that little change, simple and easy to do, makes it feel so different, because I'm working at a 45-degree angle at the wall. I'm changing, but I'm doing all the same material. I'm just setting it up just that little bit different to make it feel different, creative, and interesting. So what you need to do is you need to find a way so that the dancers get that little bit of difference, get that reward, but at the same time being able to relax and just enjoy it in their singing calls and in their patter calls. So finding creative or finding or creating a singing call figure with the interest that you wish to achieve is going to help you make your calling more interesting, make it more engaging, and consequently, it's going to allow for greater dancer success. And that's what we're after here. You use these strong building blocks or linked puzzle pieces beforehand to encourage much higher success that's going to strengthen and escalate this dancer's ability to that escalation plateau. And once it's there, let them enjoy the success and use that material that you presented so they can feel it, use it, challenge it, feel challenged, and feel rewarded, all for the rest of the evening, because that's what they're going to really do it. I wanted to look at that. So we talk about these puzzle building. Now, there's a lot of words on this slide, but it's not as confusing. I'll just go through it quickly. But consider for a minute the movement chain down the line. And it's not a difficult movement, but for new dancers that have never danced, you would not hopefully teach it right off. But just follow the logic of the progression on here. Okay, and think of what you could use all of these little bits and pieces as in other choreographic movements, other choreographic uses. For instance, a right pull by and a left pull by in a circle. Well, wait a minute, a chain down the line has a right pull by, and no, it doesn't. Okay, it's got a courtesy turn in it. No, it doesn't. Okay, well, okay, that's fine. Why am I doing that? Well, it gives me flow. Wheel around, a wheel around from a couple's promenade. Wheel around. Oh, wait a minute. That's got exactly the same flow as a courtesy turn going, okay, 180 degrees. Heads, right pull by as a couple. Heads wheel around. Heads, right pull by. Head couples wheel around. Couples do a do-si-do. You could do heads do a do-si-do. You could have couples go up to the middle as a couple. Do a do-si-do with the other couple. You could do do-si-do once and a half as couples. Doing that, you could do couples do-si-do and just a little bit more until the girls take hands. Great. Let's have those girls that got your hand just trade places with each other. Now finish your do-si-do. Oh, great. We've all done it. A quarter do-si-do. Let's just call that veer to the left. We can do heads, do a do-si-do once and a quarter, girls trade. We could do heads, veer to the left, take out that first do-si-do and do a girls trade. We could take the courtesy turn and then step ahead and wheel back, a reverse wheel around back to home. We can do a right pull by and a courtesy turn. Oh, I think we all know what that one's called. We've done that do-si-do, that quarter do-si-do. We can do a veer to the left because we called it that. We can do a girls trade and courtesy turn. We can face our corner, turn corner, right arm turn, partner left with a courtesy turn and a little bit more to face back in or face back at home or whatever we want to do. We can do that right pull by, turn around, right arm turn, come back to your partner and courtesy turn. Veer to the left, ladies trade, courtesy turn and a little bit more to face that couple. We can do circle 4 half, veer left, ladies trade, courtesy turn to face that other couple in the middle. You know, whatever you want to do. All of these things, yeah, you wouldn't have to do them all, but all of these things could combine to chain down the line, but they combine to so many more things And just little breakdowns like that, think of all the little innovative ideas that you could use to not only progress with, but to make interesting choreography and do an entire evening. There's more than enough there with circle movements, with stars, et cetera, to fill an entire evening and keep that dance progressive. And I really haven't done much at all. But what we've done is yeah.
I have a question about wheel around in a circle. How does that work, or what do you mean with it?
Do an Alaman left to your corner. Everybody promenade. Everybody wheel around. Promenade, go the wrong way around.
Oh, okay. Well, it's a wheel around.
Everybody reverse wheel around. Promenade, go the right way around.
No, I thought they were in a circle and then do a wheel around. That would have not worked.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, a promenade circle. Good catch. Good call. Okay. But what we've done is we've set the precursors for right arms. We've for right and left through. We set the arms turns. We set turn through. We set chain down the line. We've introduced fractions. We've worked as couples doing something. We've introduced an ocean wave handhold, having the girls take hands in the middle. And if we could do it the other way, we can have the boys take hands in the middle. We've introduced dancer awareness of position. We've introduced dancer adjustments with the, a little bit more, and so very much more. And all of these can be used collectively or subsequently independent in conjunction with anything else that we want to progress them with. This is just a whole bunch of material that is very, very simple right at the beginning, but it's easy to change, create a singing call using this. Altering the same choreographic figure is easy by just changing these. We've all done pass through and wheel around instead of right and left through. Veer to the left, veer to the right. We've done that instead of pass through. This is where you start right at the very beginning. And you can carry this through your dancing. And as the dancer's ability progresses, so do you, to the point where programming for success, the primary idea here is to strengthen that dancer's ability and capability by introducing a call or a position or a formation that may be perhaps an extended application, or perhaps not used enough through the typical dance program, all sorts of things, but it's still somehow familiar to them. And by creating a singing call that uses that idea first, then you can program the pattern material you need to support that singing call. And this is where you develop your modules to progressively develop the idea to the singing call, through the singing call, and you call choreography for the rest of the program. And all of these building block ideas can be used for many things, the same as all of your modules that you prepare for each singing call to reach that escalation plateau can be used for the rest of the night.
Mel?
So what, yeah.
Going back to that circle wheel around, I don't just want to be necking around, but I've got something to offer. If you're in a circle and, for example, would call now the heads wheel around, you even could go into a chain down the line, which I think is neat. So it works. If you're in a true circle, right?
Yeah.
It would work. Like if everybody would have his partner, and you would call a heads wheel around, and you can even go for a chain down the line then.
Like I said, I was just picking out a few things. There's so much more you could do with this.
Yeah.
You could do heads wheel around, take hand when the ladies take hands, and you're absolutely correct. The only limitation on simple, innovative choreography is what you bring to the table. And unfortunately, we as new callers tend to restrict ourselves by the fact that, there's another movement that will do this for me. And rather than learn to use the movements that I have, I'm going to throw something else at them to make it interesting. You don't have to go that far. Okay, so when you pick a theme, you've got to pick an idea for your theme and then try and slot that choreographic idea progressively a few times in singing call choreography that you plan to use for the evening. Now, what I'm saying is just take that little change, plan your singing calls first so that your singing calls progress to your escalation plateau, which is that singing call that you want to use. That's your hardest thing for the evening. That's where you want to get the dancers, and it's not going to be that hard, but that singing call. And then once you've got that, you do the singing call before it, the singing call before that, the singing call before that, to progress your singing calls to the theme of what you want to achieve. And after that, the rest of your singing calls, you write and you use the modules you've already written for your first 4 or 5 singing calls, wherever you set your plateau at. What you do next is take those ideas and program them right into your hoedown or pattern portion of the tip. with modules, or if you're capable with sight calling, and then immediately reinforce some of those ideas again with a complementary singing call sequence that you prepared. And this will be clear here in a minute. What you're going to find is that by presenting a progressive and innovative idea and theme and building on it through the patter and into the singing call, you're going to have a much more enjoyable dance received by the dancers. They will enjoy a more successful and fun evening than they would if they were just constantly being bombarded by random ideas and singing calls that have no correlation to the pattern. I've got the picture of the storybook because that's essentially what we're talking about, is with our music, with our choreography, with our singing calls and our patter calls. It's like reading a good storybook. If you read it from start to finish and you immerse in the story, you become part of it. You can feel the characters grow and develop, and you understand their struggles, and you rejoice at their success and living happily ever after and everything else. And if your square dance tip and the evening is like a storybook, you give the dancers that fairy tale ending that they want. Okay. If you don't, what you're doing is basically, okay, I'm going to open this book to page 27. I'm going to read the third paragraph. Then I'm going to open it to page 49. I'm going to read the seventh paragraph, and then I'm going to read the ending. And now I'm going to read the first paragraph and trying to understand what the story is about doing. That's where a lot of callers call. They're focused on the choreography from themselves, not realizing that dancers need to have that storybook. Doing this, it's possible to make use of each singing call figure break as well. And if there's potential for a corresponding choreographic idea that can be used as an appealing and unique warm-up to use in the hoedown, or you can use it in the patter, you can use that in the break. And Mickey gave us a classic example there, with the wheel around head couples, like from a static square. Everybody go up to the middle and back. Just the head couples, wheel around. Girls take hands, chain down the line. And then from there, you've got that, and you can do, all four ladies chain across. Great, roll away. And you can build that into an opener break if you were doing something like chain down the line or something. It's a nice, don't forget the breaks. They're not just that, but you can let them dance. So how are we going to put this all together? Well, let's look at a practical application. Okay, so here's our scenario. We've got a club night. It's usually 2.5 hours long, 7:30 to 10 p.m. On average, we get about 10 tips. Okay, I do short tips. Some people would get less tips. I like an 8-minute tip, 2-minute break. I program 10 minutes per tip, and it leaves me an extra 10 minutes each hour in case there's a little fudge or a walk, but it also allows for announcements. Okay, so the program level is mainstream, and it's a regular dance club going well. We've been out to a few dances. They're dancing really, really well. It's a good, solid bunch of dancers, but I've noticed a couple of things. So I've set my planning objectives. Lead to the right. My dancers are automatically starting to circle to a line unless I make sure that I really emphasize don't do that. Okay, so I want to do some choreography that doesn't have circle to a line after lead to the right. I also noticed that walk and dodge, I've developed a habit of always following it with a partner trade. I want to break myself of that habit. So I'm going to reinforce doing something else after a walk and dodge, but it still has to flow. And my goal is I want to build on what we did last time. The last 2 weeks we've been playing with spin chain through. Now we're going to play with it from a little bit more than just the boys working and just the girls working. We want to have a boy-girl working, but we're still going to keep it with right-hand waves just to keep it easy. So what I've done is these are my goals. I've set my escalation plateau, and I've written my first singing call. Okay, so I've got sides, flutter, wheel, and back away. Heads, lead to the right. Okay, I've got that. Not good. Pass through. Centers, pass through. Leaders, do a U-turn back. Great. Touch a quarter. Centers trade. I've got girl, girl, boy, boy waves. Spin chain through. Great. Circulate once and a half. Swing your corner. Yep, that works. I know the choreography works. I've checked the choreography. It times out well. It's danceable. It's fairly good. It's flowing. I don't have a walk and dodge in there, but that's okay. I've got a whole evening to play with that. But I've got my escalation plateau singing call. Notice that's not really, really hard and technical, but it incorporates what it is I want to do. I've got a lead to the right without a circle to a line. I've got a spin chain through, girl, girl, boy, boy, and I'll have to use the walk and dodge elsewhere. So I'm just going to look at the singing calls, but in the notes, there are some, generic modules that go with this. So I'm going to start with, my first tip. I don't write. I write my escalation plateau tip. Okay. Now, one of my objectives was looking at walk and dodge without a partner trade. Okay. So I've got a walk and dodge going to a star through. I've also got a lead to the right, do, si, do. Okay. That was my second goal. Oh, heads, lead to the right, swing through. Now I know if I do a lead to the right, oh, wait a minute, heads, touch a quarter, walk and dodge. That does the same thing as a lead to the right. I can do the same thing. So I can lead those in with standard, simple choreographic figures that the dancers know. Nice, easy singing call. The rest is pretty straightforward. Swing through, spin the top, right and left through. Good. Pass the ocean. Boys circulate, girls trade. Yep, that works. Hinge, scoot back, swing. Nice and simple, but it builds on the theme. Now I've got my walk and dodge. Now I'm ready to get into my spin chain through. That's my escalation plateau. My singing call module, or sorry, my pattern call modules for each of these sessions is going to be built to lead me to these singing calls. After that, the rest of it is just enjoying the evening. There's a walk and dodge followed by a boys fold. There's a walk and dodge followed by a centers trade. Feels just a little different, but not hard. My sixth tip, split circulate, walk and dodge. I've got the girls walking and the boys dodging because the girls are walking for, I'm going to have the girls trade. And then all 8 circulate. I walk and dodge with the boys walking and the boys are going to trade, followed by a swing through. Great. I got to come back to my spin chain through. Heads, lead to the right. There's one of my first goals. Lead to the right without a circle to the line. What am I doing? Spin chain through after the lead to the right. I'm reinforcing, bringing that back in. I could change that lead to right to a touch a quarter walk and dodge if I wanted to get there too. The next one, walk and dodge, followed by a boys run. Now that's after a split circulate because, oh, what's that going to take me to? That's going to walk and dodge. That's going to take me to the line, boys run. That's going to take me to the waves, the scoot back. It's not a partner trade. It's going to take me to something that's just a little bit different. And because my boys were walking, my boys could run easy. Here's another lead to the right, spin chain through. This time, instead of having circulates, I've got the girls on the outside doing a zoom. It's a standard boys are working, but I've got the girls doing something else. And it's a little bit unusual, not hard. Swing through, recycle. There's my corner box, left touch a quarter. Oh, scoot back. It's a lefty. Swing and promenade. And then if I've got time for a 10th tip, great. My culmination wrap up tip, lead to the right, swing through. Half tag, walk and dodge, reverse wheel around, slide through, square through 3. Nice, simple things that progress. They keep the idea, they keep the theme, but all of this is relaxation and confirmation. The dancers are not getting anything new that they have not already danced in their pattern. And and I've got lots of modules written, like for instance, if I was doing walk and dodge, I could go corner box, swing through, do a single hinge, walk and dodge. Tag the line, face in, pass through, wheel and deal, slide through. There's my corner box. If I'm doing spin chain through, I could do touch a quarter. Again, from a corner box to a partner line, touch a quarter and the centers trade. That's my boy, boy, girl, girl combination instead of girl, girl, boy, boy combination. Spin chain through, I've got a boy and a girl working together. Ends circulate twice. They're used to that. The ends are doing something while the centers are working. I follow that with a split circulate, boys run, and I'm in a partner line. I've set up these modules to complement the singing call, and I've got the modules corner box to corner box to partner line to partner line, partner line to corner box, and maybe even a resolution module or two. I've set them up so that when I do that, I can do what I want to do. And what happens is by the time I reach that escalation plateau singing call, the dancers have been reinforced with what they know. The pattern's going to take them to the level I want them to be. I'm going to rein it back. They're going to confirm it. And the rest of the night is just confirmation, doing something a little bit different, but doable for the dancers so that they feel the flush of success with stuff they already know. The hardest thing in there is after a walk and dodge and the boys are walking, having the boys fold. Oh my God, the boys are walking, boys fold, pass through, trade by, hits a half sachet, trade by. Oh my goodness. The dancers aren't even going to balk at it because their mind is on something else. And they do it very, very simply. So made a note on fixed point modules. Okay. That corner box to corner box, partner line to partner line. For the remainder of the evening, after I've got to my escalation plateau, I do not need to write any more modules because I've written all the modules I need for my first 4 tips. I can plug those in and mix and match them all night long. And it'll feel new, it'll feel innovative because each sequence is going to be different, but it's going to be stuff they already know. All I do is make sure my singing calls work and time out nicely within the theme. And I structure my singing calls as building blocks so that each programming goal takes me to where I want to be and what I want to use, my outcome, what I want to use to achieve my outcome goal. And that's the escalation plateau. By preparing some short modules that can expand the idea of the movement use within the dancer's capability. And that's the key, within the dancer's capability, not the caller's idea of what's variety, but within the dancer's capability, I can add a little bit of simple variety that enhances and supports the theme of the singing calls that I'm going to use. And what that will do, it will ensure, it will usually ensure that the success for the singing call by the dancers, and it will usually make the experience much more pleasurable and memorable for the dancers. And that's what you want. You don't want them to remember the choreography. You want them to remember the feeling of success and that feeling of flow and the feeling, yeah, I did it. You don't want, oh, thank God we got through that. There's nothing worse than that feeling of success where it's just a defeatist attitude. You want that euphoria of, yes, we did it. Okay. If you call a workshop tip in your night's program, the same principles apply. Work in a couple singing call figures that apply that choreographic idea that was taught, and then reinforcement of that idea. And it's a superb approach to rounding off a workshop. You can then incorporate that general workshop idea to the remainder of the evening to reinforce the success of the workshop. You've got to remember the general guideline, however. Build up the idea and pattern, make sure it's suitable in the singing call so it can be successfully enjoyed. Okay. So you build it up in the pattern, you bring it down a little bit in the singing call, but you let them enjoy it. In other words, when they get to the top of the mountain, let them walk around the top plateau and look at all the scenery that's around, because they can see from that lofty height everything that they want to see. Enjoy the view. At each stage from the first tip, if think of it like a red carpet, going up a set of stairs. The red carpet is a path that you chose for the dancers to take. You want to make them the stars going up the red carpet to that star spot at the top. The pattern is the riser on each stair that lifts that small step higher towards your goal. The step itself, though, is that flat success. All your weight is rested on that flat so that you can trust it to be stable and solid, because you know the next riser is going to take you up a little bit higher to that next step and raise you up on the platform. And the next ones are going to lift you higher and higher. Each singing call is a step supported by the ones that came before it until you reach that plateau. And when you get there, you dance to the top, and everything that brought you there is you're welcome. You're secure on a platform that you know is sturdy because you built it as a dancer, you built it as a caller, and you know everybody can dance on the top of it. It's a lot of concept, and it's a lot of the idea of programming. I'll be including this in the notes, but there's the program that I was looking at, but it talks about going through the escalation plateau. We've decided that here, and then singing calls. And you notice I've got some lead-ins, corner box to corner box, partner line to partner line. Using lead to the right, I did a couple of lead-ins to various locations, various formations. My third tip, what comes after walk and dodge? Again, my singing call. And then I developed the modules, just some fixed point modules to take me to that point. Spin chain through. Plateau is reached. And then everything else is just dancing and confirmation. And that'll all be available in the notes pages, or just as a guide if you want some additional choreography, but ideally find or write your own. that is a lot of material, and it's a lot of talking, but I hope you find it useful. Were there any questions there? Daryl's off to enjoy his weekend. Stephen had to leave. No, there's no questions in the chat. Did you get anything, Mark? Mark's got his microphone turned off again.
There we go. Nope, I didn't receive any either.
All right. Let's open it up the floor for discussion. Does anybody have any questions or any thoughts? Do you take this kind of approach? Do you have a different approach? Wow. Got a message in there. You're welcome. I have never been faced with a stunned silence before.
I do take that approach with all my programming. Oh,
that's good.
Yeah, I always have to program the night. It's always a theme. And yeah, and your class or what you're producing at the moment is what I'm normally producing for my clubs. So it's a good thought. You have to have a program like that each night. Even if you don't only use half of what you've got, it's still something. Yeah, you can always use it another time.
One of the controversial things that I brought up and I like to introduce is what I call the escalation plateau. It's something that also Sean was writing in his work as well. And I've just expanded that idea. And that's, as a caller, we tend to think of the choreography that is going to give the dancers the best bang for the buck and the most entertainment. But we think as callers, and it's not about the choreography, it's about the success. And this is why I say, if you look at an evening, you want never more than 3/4 of the evening. You always want to leave at least 2, maybe 3 tips at the end of the evening just to dance. But set a point where that level of what you want to achieve for the evening, that escalation plateau, and do the singing call. So if you set your theme, so Francis, if your theme was Cloverleaf, as an example, and you want, I don't know, and with the boys in the middle doing a Cloverleaf or whatever, okay, you might do a singing call, head square through, swing through again, girls run, tag the line, Cloverleaf, boys in the middle, and finish it off with whatever takes them to their corner. So you would set up that program. That is the highest level you're going to go. And you've got Cloverleaf. So before that, you know, in your patter call, you want to set up corner box to corner box, partner line to partner line. That's going to use Cloverleaf with the boys leading, the girls leading, the boys or the girls leading. You've got a few simple modules. You build them up to that. So the tip before, you might do heads pass through in Cloverleaf. Sides, a right and left through and a half sachet. Pass through in Cloverleaf. Now I've got them Cloverleafing from a half sachet couple. Then I might do that Cloverleaf. Everybody do a double pass through. I've got a boy behind a boy, a girl behind a girl. Oh, wait a minute. That's great. But now I've got a boy behind a girl and a girl behind a boy. One couple's half sachet, Cloverleaf. I set up the patter with a couple fixed point modules to build me up to my escalation plateau so that the tips before, the warm-up tip, the tempo up, the pickup tip, and my escalation plateau all complement each other to get to that point. And for the rest of the evening, all those modules I prepared, now they can dance Cloverleaf and anything else I want with a little bit of innovation. And by doing that, what you can do is, if you're doing something like that, and I'm using Cloverleaf with Francis here, I can do the Cloverleaf, center 4, do a left touch a quarter, and then do a walk and dodge, swing your corner, she's right beside you, you know, something like that. And it's just a left touch a quarter, girl walk, boy dodge. Oh, it feels so different. The dancers can't fail because their thought is on the Cloverleaf. Your thought is on the Cloverleaf, and you've given them that just little tiny wow factor that is not difficult at all, but in their mind it is, wow, that came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting that. Oh, where did that corner come from? Because you've programmed for their success. And what they get is, that little success. And even if they didn't get the walk and dodge, girls walk, boy dodge, left touch a quarter, boy walk, girls dodge, it's a left-hand wave, swing your corner. Yeah, that might just be a little bit because she's dodging left and she's got to turn left. But the corner's right there. Even if they didn't get it, there's going to be one person looking for somebody. And guess what? There's only going to be two people that don't have somebody, and they're standing right next to each other. And what comes after that? Promenade. It's almost a no-lose scenario. And the dancers are going to win. And the next time, they're going to get it right.
Mel,
Yes.
Mel, I'd just like to say that, and I haven't been here for a while, but I have tried to do this without very much success, probably because I didn't understand the concept. So this has been really helpful to me. This has been really helpful.
Well,
Thank you.
it's actually this whole presentation came up because we've done sessions on programming an individual tip, structuring the tip for success. We've done a number of sessions on programming, building an evening theme, building a theme with the music, building a theme with the choreography. But this is taking it back into the actual meat and understanding how it works rather than just doing it. And this is what, well, it was what I was asked to explain. And this is why I give Sean a lot of credit. He wrote the baseline documents that supported this presentation that led you to this kind of an idea. So I thank you very much, Linda. That's very high praise indeed. Mickey, you got to have something.
Well, you said something before when you said quoting Daryl with the heads lead right, right and left through.
Yes.
And you said the same thing would be the heads with the couple on the light on the right to the right and left through. But on the one thing, you would either have a square set again, or you would have diagonal lines facing in. On the other one, you would have an 8 chain through formation.
Yep.
There is a difference because you said it would be the same thing.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe I missed something. I got to wait.
No, you didn't. You didn't miss anything. What I was getting at was, let's do something here. Like, sorry. Anyway, okay. Share screen. Okay, so if I do heads lead right, right and left through, ladies chain. Okay, just as an example. Notice who's with who. I could, after this ladies chain, I could do a veer to the left and bend the line or all sorts of things. And what I've got is I've got them lined up on the walls. Now you're going to have to visualize this because Terminations doesn't allow it. But if I say heads, chain the ladies right, or heads with the couple on the right, 2 ladies chain, that just feels different. So now I've got the side lady here and the head lady there. And then I say with that, hang on, let me finish. And then what I say with the same 2, now I'm going right at an angle because they've adjusted to face that other couple, do the right and left through. Oh, what I've essentially got, pass through, bend the line. I've got the number 1 man here with the side, sorry, I've got the number 1 man here with the side lady facing the number 2 man. Now I can achieve that same concept with heads lead right. Okay. If I call heads lead right and a right and left through. Now, if I just say from a static square, heads with the couple on your right, do the right and left through. Yes, I'm going to end up in lines. I have to make an adjustment. But what I was getting at is that kind of heads lead to the right, or head ladies chain to the right, side ladies chain to the left, whatever. It's just going to feel that little bit different All you have to do as a caller is by introducing something like that, just as a bit of experience or whatever you can do. Head ladies, chain to the right, chain her back. Keep that girl, do the right and left through, or with the same two, do the right and left through, pass through and bend the
Okay.
line. I've created a partner line, which I can do with lead to the right, circle to a line, and create the same partner line. I could do with lead to the right, swing through. But instead, what I've done is I've worked at that 45-degree angle to achieve that partner line using movements that they already know. And then when I do something like pass through, bend the line, the dancers are going to readjust to the walls. I wasn't saying this is a replacement for choreography to achieve. What I'm saying is you can take an older idea, couple number 1, lead to the right, circle up 4. That couple break, make a line of 4. Couple number 3, lead to the right, circle to a line, make a line of 4. Just by splitting them up like that, 2 old-fashioned ideas, but working independently, it feels so different. Now I can do, the first group, bend the line. The second group, tag the line, face, and everybody face in, pass through, and move the dancers around, doing absolutely nothing, but it feels different. It's no different than saying sides face, grand square. Now I'm going to change it. Heads face, grand square. Now I'm going to change it. Boys face, grand square. Girls face, grand square. They're all doing exactly the same movement. The latter two get very, very difficult. But think of the first time you called heads face, grand square. What effect that had on the dancers.
Yeah.
If I take facing lines and call right and left through, pretty common. But if I say from a static square, heads with the couple on your right, do the right and left through, stay facing them. Now I've got lines, same lines, but they're at a 45-degree angle. It's not changing anything.
That would have been the $100,000 question. After the heads with a couple on the right, do the right and left through, what would you expect them to have? A square again or diagonal? Diagonal lines?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't have the time in the presentation to go through that. But what I was trying to get across is there's a lot of material from old-fashioned calling that we tend to dismiss as not usable in today's modern square dancing. But there's also a lot of really, really good ideas. That one was one that I had from Daryl. I can't even remember. I wish I could find the record, but it started with, what was it? You ended up with lines and you had the opposite, or the right hand, or the head ladies were chained to the right, side ladies were chained to the left, and you ended up in lines. All I did was get there by doing lead to the right, right and left through, ladies chain, veer to the left, bend the line, or something like that. That's how we would do it today. But for the dancers, it feels really new and innovative, even though it's not, is head ladies chain to the right with that same couple, do the right and left through, pass through and bend the line. Now I've worked at a 45-degree angle, taken it out, and then I brought them back to that straight angle because they will adjust to the walls. Dancers will do that automatically. But it feels so different to chain to the right instead of chain across or chain 3/4. But it's still,
and this is where we callers are in charge again and have to make sure that the dancers understand what we want and we take the lead again and what we want and guide them. Okay. And then we can use such material.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to do, couple number 1, lead to the right. Do the right and left through, dive through, pass through, do the right and left through, dive through. You've got that. And, lead to the right, California twirl, and you're home. And then you can do a couple
the old dip and dive.
Couple number 2. There's a lot of really good material that is good for innovation, good for a little break, but especially at the early level, like you saw what I had with that chain down the line. It just ideas that sit in the back of your mind, because a lot of this material will eventually become the material that you're going to present. Do a do-si-do once and a half. Great. We've introduced fractions. We've introduced the pass-through. We've, and now I've got a singing call, but I need 2 extra beats. I need 4 extra beats. Do-si-do once and a half, swing your corner instead of just swing your corner, or instead of just pass through and swing your corner. Little things like that, because you've introduced it, is going to be familiar to the dancer. Do-si-do
Here's the-
once and a quarter, chain down the line. Call that sometimes and just see what happens. Or sorry, as couples, do-si-do once and a quarter. They're moving as a couple. It feels really weird. You know, work as a couple. You don't say as couples, you say, but working as a couple, head couples working together. Do a do-si-do, go once and a quarter more, chain down the line. And if you time that right, the dancer goes, where did that come from? But what did you do? Do-si-do, veer to the left. Terribly uncomfortable. But as couples, it works really nice. And it's not hard.
Here's a neat one on a do-si-do once and a half, and then face right instead of touch a quarter, and then you can run into a scoot back easily.
Set it up. I've got terminations up.
Okay, head square through 4. And do-si-do. Now and then often we do touch a quarter scoot back. Now, but we do do-si-do once and a half.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we usually do touch 1/4,
Scoot back.
scoot back,
Right.
and there it is. But instead of doing that,
We do a do-si-do once and a half. I don't know whether termination does the once and a half. Otherwise, we do
Yep.
a do-si-do on a pass through, which is the same thing.
it does.
Okay. Face right. Scoot back. And that goes nice with the flow as well, because we're moving to the right after we're passing right shoulder and have to come back, and we just turn in and we can smoothly get into the scoot back.
And the nice thing about that, do-si-do, go once and a half. Everybody face right, scoot back. The only
Right.
thing that's changed is you don't have the hand contact for that quarter turn.
Which
And yet-
somehow makes it even smoother because you don't have right.
Yeah, but from a dancer perspective, that is incredibly difficult. But it's not difficult. It just sounds difficult. Um, back, okay, so I'm going to put this on normal. Okay, and this is what we've got here. Okay, heads square through, and I get 4 hands and move it round the land, go all the way, do a do-si-do. Touch 1/4, scoot back. And a boys run around a girl, square through, go 3, 2, 1. Alaman left your corner, come back and square your sets. Now, I'm going to change that. Head star through, square through, or slide through, square through 3. Do a do-si-do. Everybody pass through, face right. Boys turn through, girls fold to the right. Boy run around a girl, square through, go 3.
Now you
Alaman
had to
left.
start. You had to start through square through 3, right?
I changed that to a slide through. I don't like
Or
star through
slide,
square.
whatever. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. You just slide through square through 3. Then I would have done a left do-si-do or a left pass through and face
Yeah,
to the left.
I actually
Yeah.
meant to say left, but I didn't. But
And,
either one would work.
would
But
be
left
another
would definitely be better.
stepping stone. Yeah, and it's
And-
another thing to
and-
build up,
but-
right?
Yeah, but Mickey, this is what I was getting to, because I'm using the same sequence. Slide through, left square through 3 with the right shoulder, pass
Okay.
through, face right. Scoot back. All the boys run around a girl. And square through 3, Alaman left. And the next one you could do head square through 4. Do a do-si-do, go once and a half, face right. Boys turn through, girls flip. Boy, boy full, girls dodge, whatever. you can say all sorts of things and do this combination of movements to make it sound really difficult, really easy, good flow, change the movement of a scoot back to those dancers looking in, turn through, the others fold into the empty position. When they get there, make an ocean wave. Or you could even do, when you get there, slide through and cast off three, or slide through and reverse wheel around 3/4, partner trade. There's, any kind of setup you want. But what have we called? We've called the same thing square through. We've changed the slide through, square through 3. We can change it to right and left through, slide through, pass through. We can change it to slide through, pass through, square through 3, trade by. Just by changing square through equivalents to get into that corner box. Do, side, do, 1.5. It's a pass through. It's a do, side, do. It's a do, side, do, 1.5. It's a veer to the left, veer to the right. It's a veer to the right, veer to the left. But I'm
Now
calling
working
this same sequence over and over and over again. For the dancers, it's success because they're familiar with it. But the terminology on my delivery is going to make it seem different. So if I was going to do this in a singing call, great. I could do heads square through 4, or sides promenade, heads square through 4. Everybody square through 3. There's my corner, and trade by. There's my corner box. It's flipped over on the other side. Good. Do a do, side, do, 1.5. Face right, scoot back, boys run, square through 3 to the corner, swing, promenade about halfway around, and away
Now
you
here's
go.
one if you want to build up that do, side, do, 1.5 thing with that, what we just built up with that face right and scoot back, which would be a neat one, I think. It's, let me show you that. Head square through 4.
Yep.
Okay, got a do, side, do, 1.5, face right. Scoot back. Now here comes the fun part. Do, side, do, 1.5.
Mhm. And who are they going to end up with?
We're gonna have the girls in the middle and the boys on the outside. Just for a second.
It's not going to do that for me, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Then just
but
call
you would
step
you
through.
would call the do, side, do 1.5 before they had finished the scoot back, and this is where they would end up.
Right. And then you have centers turn through, the boys turn around and either courtesy turn or swing and promenade.
There's your corner.
And I probably would even call the boys turn left twice and courtesy turn, because then the flow for the courtesy turn would be just perfect.
Yeah, and if you wanted to keep the theme do, side, do 1.5.
I have a question.
There's your right and left grand. Yes, go ahead.
You were in a mini wave, ocean wave, when you called do, side, do 1.5.
Yes.
Yeah.
How does that work
It's
from there?
Hang on.
it's the facing couples rule.
Okay. Well, an ocean wave is facing couples. I can call a right and left through.
Right.
I can call a do, or heads do, side, do. Centers do, side, do. Okay. Because your ocean wave is actually not quite there. Should be there
Okay.
with their hands joined. And then, as Mickey said, the facing couple rule, if you're in an ocean wave, things that you can do with as facing couples, a lot of those things you can do as are from an ocean wave, such as pass
Okay.
through, such as box the net, such as do, side, do, such as right and left through, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And that even
It's
works
it.
for just a mini wave as well, if we could do
Yeah.
things from facing dancers. So it doesn't have to be an ocean wave.
Yeah. The only reason it's not working here is because Taminations is not geared up to do that, because it conflicts with a lot of advanced, challenged, and other program movements. It is a computer program. So, and as Brad Christie says when he wrote the program, the callers are expected to know and to understand the basic premises of choreographic flow and management. Taminations is not a choreographic writing program, although it can be used for it, but it's something to help you check, but not everything is going to work. Like a lot of the circle movements will not work in taminations and things like that. But as a caller, you can see what will work. And you're expected to know facing couple rules and ocean wave rules and stuff like that.
Okay,
And what-
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Simon,
I have
you hang on, Mickey. Simon, you had your hand up.
It's not the facing
Oh.
couple, it's the ocean wave rule.
Yeah, I said it's the ocean wave rule. An ocean wave means you treat the ocean wave like facing couples, and facing couple rules means you treat the ocean wave like facing couples. The ocean wave will be facing couple rule means you teach
You teach it like
Sorry.
an ocean.
you teach it like an ocean wave. They're logically the reverse of each other. So
Right.
if you say ocean wave rule, it means treat it like facing couples. If you say facing couple rule, it means treat it like ocean waves. So facing couple rules, swing through, spin the top, etc. Ocean wave rule, box the gnat, right and left through, etc., etc.
And watch
Yes, Simon.
going into a square of callers, because I've seen somebody do the from like right there from a wave called do si do 1.5, and they ended up exactly halfway, 1.5 way around. They weren't back to back in the way it should be. They went exactly 1.5 from where they are right now.
And then they had a left-handed ocean wave.
Well, if
they had a back-to-back ocean wave.
Yeah, if they did a
Oh.
do si do 1.5,
Isn't it actually do-si-do 3/4.5 more?
No.
Just saying, just saying.
Okay.
So
No, it's
that's-
treated like if you were, other way around. Starting from an ocean wave, you have done the first step, but the ending formation is as you would have started from the beginning.
Yes.
That means after do si do, you always will be ending face to face and not in an ocean wave again.
Yes.
That means a do si do from an ocean wave is not one time around. It's about just 3/4. Right. So another half would be then back to back. It does not has any effect on the end result of the ending formation.
Yes.
Okay, so if they were to do this, okay, this is where they start. This is where your ocean wave rule and your facing couples rule comes into play. So they're in an ocean wave, so the facing couples rule would apply. So you would treat this as a facing couples, and it would be a do si do once, because that's the facing couple rule. I've now finished that movement, and a half. Oops, sorry, and a half. That would be my ending position because it would have been a static square. They would actually end up back to back, but
Yes.
the callers that did that are using mathematical progression, and they're not using the actual rules and the definitions.
Right.
And this is why a lot of North American callers have a big problem when they're learning, because they'll read the definitions, and then because they've danced, more than likely a lot of them today have picked up calling because they got bored with challenge dancing and they wanted something new to challenge themselves with. And at challenge dancing, you have to be very precise on your fractions, on your quarters, on your eighth, because you could do a do si do 37 150 seconds, and their minds will go, okay, yeah, I've calculated that, great, I'm ready to do it. That's a bit of a hyper exaggeration, but that's the idea. Whereas a do si do 1.5, you end up back to back. That's the rules, and everything support that. So the callers in that case were wrong.
But besides that, there are certain general rules which go up through all the levels, and the facing couples and the ocean wave rule is one of
Mhm.
those, same as the passing rule or some
Passing
sex
rule.
movements, right?
Yep.
So you got to be careful when picking stuff up from the upper levels and bringing it down. Got to be real careful. But there are certain rules which wander through all the levels.
Yeah. One of the key aspects of that is one of the things that most dancers will do 99% of the time, but it's wrong. For instance, Dixie style to an ocean wave, pass through an Alaman left. I don't know how often you hear something like that. And yet
Well, it depends on how you set it up, but the pass through could only be done by the centers.
That's right. It's just one of those examples. You hear that. Now, if you called something like that, or if you're in a left-hand ocean wave as an example, spin the top, pass through. That would be wrong because it's a left shoulder pass.
Or Dixie style to a wave, slip the clutch, element left.
And
That's
yet
what
that
a lot,
yeah.
on a lot of records.
That's another one, because slip the clutch has now been redefined. Instead of a stop action from a left-hand mini wave to drop hands and take a step forward to whatever the next call is, it's got a restricted starting position, which is your dar position. I do believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if I called, for instance, I've got heads left square through, do a left do-si-do to a wave, left swing through, spin the top, slide through, and expect the dancers to end up in that corner box. No, it's not going to happen. If I do pass through, face in, it's going to happen, but it would be wrong, because coming off a left-handed ocean wave doing a spin the top, I end up in a left-hand ocean wave, and I cannot do a pass through because a pass through is defined as a right shoulder. I could, however, say, and if you want to really throw your floor off, left swing through, left spin the top, left pass through, which is the natural flow. But I guarantee probably half of your floor is going to stop and think, okay, left pass through. No, wait a minute, I'm in a left-hand wave, so I've got to change. I've got to do a reverse pass. Is that a reverse? Is that a left? And the mind will go. Meanwhile, most of them, they'll just do the pass through because it's an automatic reaction. It's a natural flow. And this is where you get this argument between technical DBD and usable danceable material that's simple and varied, but successful. If John or Linda or Hannah, if I said Dixie style to an ocean wave, boys trade, slip the clutch to the corner, Alaman left, do you think your dancers would be able to do it?
No,
No? Why is that?
because they haven't had any experience with it.
Oh, no, that excellent answer. And you caught me on that one because you're absolutely correct. If you had, for instance, a hall full of mainstream dancers that are good, experienced dancers, okay, not plus and advanced dancers because they don't know how to dance basic and mainstream. But if I had a setup where I'm getting everybody to end up with their partner in a left-hand wave, so I can do a courtesy turn. So I want to set this kind of thing up, and I've got that. So I don't know. Let's just set this up. Let's have the heads slide through single file Dixie style to an ocean wave. All 8 circulate. Girls run around a boy. Ladies lead Dixie style to an ocean wave. All 8 circulate. Everybody do a left-hand hinge, girl walk, boy dodge, wheel around. Okay, so here we got a Dixie style to an ocean wave. Great. We're in that left-hand ocean wave. Everybody's got their partner. We're all in sequence. Slip the clutch to the corner, Alaman left. Walk in and a right and left grand.
They might be able to do that.
They would, chances are they would, because
They
you'd say,
would.
they're used to doing a slip the clutch. They're moving in the natural flow. For the boys in Dixie style to an ocean wave, we've got the slip the clutch is that forward action. Okay. It's not necessarily a boys trading action, but it's a forward action. You can see your corner coming at you straight ahead. You're leaving your partner with the left hand moving forward to the corner, which is how a slip the clutch goes. But technically, it's wrong.
Yeah.
They're not in a thar.
That's correct.
They're not in a
But-
moving
Not in the
action.
bar.
That's right. It's the moving part. Dar, yeah, it's not necessarily an R. It's a motion action. However, if I called boys trade slip the clutch,
No,
would it be legal?
no.
Because they are in a moving action.
Yeah, but the centers stop the backward action. And in the center straight will be forward action. But if you want to do the element left with the slip the clutch action type,